Welcome everyone to the live stream on this gorgeous Saturday morning. I've been out already, done my grocery shopping. Everything's done, and now we're sitting here just relaxing and taking it easy. How are you, Linda?
I'm doing awesome, but I'm feeling a little loony already.
A little loony already, and is that because of the moon?
I believe so. I'm going to use that as an excuse. Why the heck not?
Yeah, okay. I'll tag in on that excuse. I've always been a little loony, so I don't know what my excuse is.
Yeah, I'm always getting asked, who's that guy?
Yeah, he's just a loon. We pulled him off the street.
Yeah, it's an exciting topic. I'm really looking forward to working with the Royal Astronomical Society this Sunday night out at the Sandy Cross Conservation Area. If you haven't signed up already, though, you can't go out there. I'll be supervising a set of high-powered binoculars, and there'll be a telescope there. But of course, you don't need that to observe a eclipse. But it's just nice to see all the different features on the moon, and hopefully we're going to have really great weather. But I think it's exciting, and it'll be interesting to see everyone's comments out there about how they're feeling around full moon. Mm-hmm.
I watched a movie last night. It was called Moonfall on Netflix, I think it was. And it's all about the moon and how it was a mega structure, and it was artificially made, and it was way off on a tangent, but it was fun to watch. And it just happened to coincide with this, which was pretty funny. Yeah, anyways, sorry, go ahead.
No, here we go. I'm so excited. It's called the flower moon this month.
Now, why do they call it the flower moon?
Well, Farmer's Almanac claims that this is when the abundance of flowers start to spring up through the earth across America.
Cool.
Always America. But of course, at this latitude, we're not sure whether we're ever going to hit spring and summer. But yeah, that's why it's called the flower moon. And in June, it's the strawberry moon. Strawberry season. So.
Yeah. Oh, cool. That's all new to me. So does each month have a name for the full moon?
Yes.
And cool.
You can just Dr. Google that and figure, have a look at all the calendar
Google,
of the moon's cycles. But today's talk, I thought we'd, have a little peruse around health, and is it real that the full moon and the new moon,
and it's not even it's not even Halloween, and we're talking about a full moon here, right?
Well, and because of that is because of the this super moon eclipse. So it's a complete lunar eclipse that will be occurring at roughly 10-12 p.m.
So do you want to describe a lunar eclipse, just so for maybe some people don't know what that is?
Sure. Just sort of the Coles Notes version is because it's a supermoon as well.
Now, can you explain that? That's
Sure. And the moon, as we know, circles around the Earth in an orbit, and the orbit is at its closest point when it's at a supermoon, meaning it's only, I think, 360,000 kilometers away from the Earth, and its furthest point is 405,000 kilometers away from the Earth. So
got it.
Tomorrow it's going to look extra large because it's going to be coming up on the horizon, and it will be eclipsed in an hour after that from the sun. So the Earth's shadow will be cast across the moon, and it will be like that until about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Full eclipse is only for, roughly.
And is that tonight or tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. Okay.
Tomorrow night. Yes. So many people start feeling the effects, sometimes a week to 2 weeks ahead of a big celestial event like this. Are there energetics? Yes. I mean, we see them in nature, and I think it's time that we include nature more and more in our discussions, Gary, because people need to become environmentally aware of how we are just part of the earth.
Yeah.
And just acknowledging that, the moon cycles we know they affect animals and their behaviors. We know that it affects the tides, the
Mm-hmm.
ocean tides. Coral blooms in Australia are impacted by the lunar cycle, particularly, I think, in November for them.
Mm-hmm.
They notice a huge coral bloom, and pollinations can occur more abundantly at full moon phase. And so it
Right.
just was a logical extrapolation that it's going to impact humans as much as we don't want to admit it.
Right. Now,
I don't know why.
in the title, it was hydration and toxins. Can you speak about the toxins first, maybe? What is
Yeah,
that? What is
well,
that?
I'm going to talk about hydration first because that's
Okay.
simpler and
Okay.
more understandable. I mean, we're 70% water, or technically we're supposed to be, unless you're extremely dehydrated.
Right.
So when you think about it having the moon phases
Have some
having
water.
good job. um, when you think about the moon phases having an impact on tides, naturally, tides as in water, on the earth, levels of the seawater. More details another time. But we're going to be impacted. So the gravitational pull between the two are going to affect us as well. And we know that water reads energy differently. Like there's Emoto in his studies in Japan.
Yes.
Those were incredible. Anybody want to take the time to look at how our emotions can even affect the fragments of water just by putting a label on a glass of water? This is bad water and this is good and happy water. And then the
Yeah.
actual molecules look different. So that's our thoughts.
Yeah.
Our thoughts impact the water in our bodies. It
Yeah.
does, the molecular structure is going to change and shift. So
I've never put the two together. His research and how the water in us is affected the same way. That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. I never put the two together. That's really
So,
cool.
yeah, amazing. And, to dispute it just to me is like, what do you need to do? A double blind controlled, expensive placebo study where people,
Yeah. Yeah.
it just kind of puts me over the edge, that stuff, unless they're going to extrapolate it to something more useful, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, so then the toxins component is not just affecting our toxin level, but our toxins become more disturbed in our body as well with this shift of physiology of water.
So are you saying that at some when it's not full moon, they're kind of sort of settled, and then once the full moon comes up, things start getting mixed up, and oh, I see. So is that a good time to do a cleanse when this is happening?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Easier to drag everything out
Yeah.
and probably not overburden ourselves with sugar, heavy meats. Eat very lightly, maybe consider doing more of a vegetarian style eating for 2 days before the full moon and 2 days after would
Right.
just be logical. And if people want to ask me for a full moon detox, I'm happy to oblige, because there's certainly good herbs and binders, um, anti-parasitics, which we're going to talk about,
Mm.
to help move this that is being freed up from an energetic source that we definitely have no control over. It's happening whether you
Yeah.
like it or not.
Yeah.
And they also extrapolate this disturbance of toxicity in the water on the earth too. So drinking water becomes more turbulent, more full of toxins being drawn out of the earth. So,
Right.
especially important time to be drinking filtered water, perhaps. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, so there's so many factors to tie into it. That's why I get so passionate and excited about talking about it, because a lot of people don't consider what's really going on in our bodies
Yeah.
in relationship to something like that. We have to call it voodoo or something when really it's just
Nature.
fact.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's really cool. Putting all of these little pieces. It's amazing how the body is it's so integrated, not just integrated in and of itself, but with our environment, with the moon and the sun and everything. We're just kind of part of all of this thing, aren't we, on our journey here on Earth? That is amazing.
Absolutely. I love that word, integration. Way to go. Yeah, we're integrated. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we become more appreciative of this integration, we can then start to pay attention and increase our awareness to how our role is in all of that.
Yeah.
So, are we being wasteful? Are we being, um, what's our part, is we need to start to understand as an individual, and
Sure.
then how do we start to ripple effect out to how we want to see the world managed in a
Yeah.
more effective way.
Yeah, yeah, because it's and we're not going to get into politics or any of the stuff that's going on in the world, but you can see the devastating effects. You think, over the thousands of years that we've been on this planet, that it's only been the last 200-300 years that we've just totally annihilated it. It's just amazing what we've done to our poor planet.
Yes. Taking it for granted, really. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't think I know of any other species that's learned to, you know, put garbage in and defecate in their own backyard, sort of thing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and think that there's going to be no ramifications. Like, I know the earlier peoples have always understood
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah. The Native Americans, they're so wise in their relationship with the earth. It's just amazing.
Oh, and the Incas and the Mayans and the
Hmm.
Aboriginals, and I'm sure there's, you know, Ethiopia has some very interesting and cool concepts on how they find their place on the planet. And yeah, I think we just need to start paying attention
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
and appreciate. So when we personally start to notice that, hey, I think my sleep gets a little disturbed, or I'm getting a little loony around the full moon, there's good explanation for that. We actually have melatonin drop off as part of our pineal gland is affected by the phase of the moon and the
Oh,
brightness of the moon.
wow.
So unbeknownst to you, your body is like a little antenna picking up the fact that, oh, there's something peculiar in the environment. I don't believe you need to be sleeping on a mat outside in full exposure to have your body attuned to that.
Right, right, right.
I think it's much bigger and deeper than we've given appreciation to. So do we need melatonin? I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of extra help at that time. And when melatonin goes down, serotonin goes up, and then we all act a little weird because of that. Anxiety, depression,
Mm-hmm.
panic attacks, these sorts of things start to rise. And, PubMed, which is one of the medical journals, has published the fact that they know that bipolar disorder, where they have the depressive state and the very manic, happy state, they
Yeah.
will switch to a manic state immediately from a depressive state as they start approaching the full moon.
Is that right? Wow.
So there's lots of mental, emotional health issues on account of these shifting neurotransmitters.
Right,
Mhm.
right. Oh, wow. Now you'd mentioned something about parasites. What does that parasites have to do with this?
Yeah, those little critters that live inside all of us become more activated as
Oh.
well around the moon. So, not just toxins, as in chemical toxins released from fat stores or joints, muscles, um, but also the parasites themselves become activated, and they will reduce our body's ability to produce GABA, for instance, because GABA seems to paralyze parasites and their activity level. So they will actually produce chemicals to rob you of your GABA.
Oh,
And
man.
kids with pinworms will have more issues with pinworms at night,
Yeah.
but also at the full moon.
Oh, wow.
So parasites are part of all of us,
So
whether we like it or not.
again, with a toxic cleanse, maybe a parasite cleanse at the same time when you're going through?
Yes, that would be part of the cleanse, herbs and homeopathy to help
So that would
encourage
this,
them to leave.
yeah. So would this be one of your little cocktails you put together?
Some of those tasty ones.
Yeah, yeah. The ones you hold in your nose when you take it.
Yeah,
But they work.
Herbs. Yeah, absolutely. It's just a matter of taking it.
Yeah.
And they work when you take them.
When you take it, that's right.
Yeah, so that, to me, that's just exciting, and for people to know that we do have a parasite load in our body. It's just how much.
Yeah.
And how do we get those parasites? From fruit and vegetables, from petting our animals, to walking outside in the dirt.
Yeah.
Anything can contribute to your parasite cleanse. I most recently, not super recently, a couple of years ago, because of the travel things, but a gal showed me how she had picked up a parasite walking off the beach in Cancun because of the amount of dog feces on the beach. And then there was this wiggling around parasite on her toe next to the nail, live and happy. So just from walking in an infected area, you're predisposed. So
yeah.
dog parks. Yeah.
So now we talked kind of briefly about hydration. So how does hydration compensate for some of this stuff that's going on in our bodies on a full moon? Does it help? Does it flush out more? What's the purpose for maybe increased hydration?
Well, there's a double-edged sword there. If you have more water, you're going to feel more of the tidal effects of the water. But then again, the water is going to help you move the disturbed toxin load in your body by being more hydrated. So it makes sense to just increase your water, and it could be your own personal experiment.
Just feel the tidal waves coming across you as you're drinking all of that water.
Yes, that's right. So all those things, and it helps the lymphatic system, like in making sure you have a good exercise program. I think I was whining away to Nicole about how I need to start to a systematic and proper exercise program going forward here shortly. And exercise, walking, yoga, water, that's all going to help move the lymph, which it carries debris, and to be cycled through either the liver and gut or out through the kidneys.
Right. Yeah. And I'm assuming the lymph gland is affected more with a full moon as well, just like everything else in the body.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, sure. So exercise, like you said, and stuff that actually that would affect that. Not maybe lifting weights isn't going to help with the lymphatic, or maybe it does, but more cardio type stuff is going to definitely work on it, isn't it?
No, muscles definitely. Massage the lymphatic system.
Oh, okay, cool.
More directly than just circulatory, because the lymph system doesn't have any valve system to help move it along. So it's totally dependent on muscles compressing and stretching, and
So go jump. So go jump on your kids' trampoline.
That too, yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Some gravity.
Yeah, just shake it up.
Might as well bring all the physics into this.
That's right.
We got gravity now. We got water. We got the pull of the moon.
So with all of this kind of physical stuff going on, mentally, I'm assuming this can really, like you said, make a person go a little wackadoo for maybe a while, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a scientific term, by the way, wackadoo.
Wackadoo.
That's a
Totally. I'm sure many people can relate to wackadoodle. I'm not sure if they'd like me calling them wackadoodle.
No. Yeah. Here's your diagnosis. You're a little off. You're a little wackadoodle, and you're getting close to the wackadoodle area. Yeah. So how can we mitigate some of these maybe emotional depressions, anxieties? What would you recommend that we do when the full moon comes out and we're just feeling it bad?
Yeah. Well, I like the awareness that would bring to you, because then it would indicate that somebody needs some work.
Yeah.
If you really go off center, then my sleep isn't as solid as I thought.
Mm-hmm.
I'm maybe not hydrated. I'm carrying too many toxins and parasites. Time to do something about this. And so there isn't a huge swing that creates that instability. You mean, what do you want to take? Well, you could take some GABA and see if you piss off the parasites. That's a technical term too, piss off. But the parasites obviously are trying to block your own GABA, so maybe some GABA would help relax. L-theanine, passion flower, something along those lines. You want to take some melatonin. I watch the amount of melatonin people take, but
mm-hmm.
It indicates that the pineal gland, a very often ignored, never discussed issue, is this pineal gland that is greatly affected by other toxins that we put in our body, from pharmaceuticals to heavy metals. All of those things will affect our pituitary and pineal gland, and then you get the wackadoodle, you get the imbalance in the female hormones. So this is higher up in the chain of command down the river system. So complaining about hormones, female or male hormones, it's kind of like putting sandbags there to stop the river, but maybe you should have looked at the dam up the river.
Right.
That sort of premise again, and I know we've touched on this before. So technically, the full moon, women should be ovulating, and on the new moon, they should be menstruating. And if they aren't on that cycle, it might be something for people to take a look at.
So they could be. So that's another indicator that things are kind of off,
out of balance. Yeah.
Got it.
So the words today are integration and balance.
Right. And probably, we could throw awareness in there too, because if you're not trying to pay attention, and specifically from what I'm hearing, what you're saying, on a full moon, pay more attention to your body, because it's going to tell you some stuff. Would that be accurate in mentioning that?
Yeah. And my sneaky sort of outlying goal is, when you start to talk about integration, nature, mm-hmm. balance, awareness, and then all of those things are going to take us to another important area in the MEPS, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual aspects of health, is how does that connect into our spirituality and how we think our part and role is in the world, and in how are we being in our world,
right,
in our lives. And that's sort of the way to take people down that path of investigating and questioning. Mm-hmm, and how do you want to live? What's important to you? How do you set your priorities?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and it's I heard somebody say, and this was a couple of weeks ago, they try to find I'm paraphrasing what they said, but it was kind of like, I try to find a spiritual place where the dust of distractions settle. And that's the thing. We have so many distractions that kind of pull us. We don't pay attention to our health. We don't pay attention. We're just busy focused on these things that are pulling us left, right, and center. And so I think that's a really important comment you mentioned there, that we need to look at that spiritual side, because that may help us see things a little clearer too. And that takes getting into a quiet place, or what do you do? I know what you do. You head off to radium when you're trying to get away from it all, and then you kind of, from what you've told me, you just kind of take that nice breath and enjoy nature.
Yeah, and we don't have to do a big trip away.
No.
Just stepping into our own backyard, you make your backyard a sanctuary for nature and spend some quality time, which I'm sure many of us over the last couple of years have learned to become more comfortable at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do we, and bringing that into a daily practice? I love my mornings. Mornings make me feel like I'm still aware of what I was working on subconsciously all night.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's kind of a pleasant time of day to connect in and set the tone for the rest of the day, even though I'm not always successful at it. And I think that's another thing. People don't have to be perfect. It's just acknowledging it. And even if it's just a 30-second gaze at some photo that you've decided to put up on your refrigerator to remind you that there's more to the world, and stop taking oneself so personally, everything and that happens around you. And
what I've kind of taken from this conversation this morning is that really need to kind of pay attention to what's going on, and the moon seems to be a method that I can, because it stirs things up, I can pay attention to see what's out of whack, what's out of balance, what's not how disintegrated am I from being integrated with what's going on around me, like the planet, the moon, and all that sort of stuff. This has been a really for me a kind of an aha moment and it's things but they have to be surfaced, kind of like the moon, stirring it up to get into your thoughts. That's kind of my takeaway.
Yeah, that's great. And the moon is always there. Mm-hmm. So you even just noticing there's the moon.
Yeah.
Starts to kindle a little bit of interest and curiosity of just noticing.
Yeah. And it affects you, I'm assuming it affects you even not, the full moon it's more intense, but it affects you every day, I assume, to a certain degree, right?
Of course. Yeah. I think that's important. And a lunar eclipse, I'd be curious, there'd probably be tons of literature written on celestial events or, historical events. Would be curious to also notice what happens around new moons and full moons and eclipses. If you're so inclined to investigate that, please feel forward to forward me any information that you uncover. But I like the idea of just noticing and being part of a bigger picture.
Mm-hmm. And and folks, if you've got any information that you'd like to contribute, go and throw it in the comments. If there's a link or something that you can share with us about the moon, or anything that you've come across in your studies or your research, it'd be interesting to collaborate and have that information come in. So by all means, please comment, put a link or whatever you have to share. But maybe, Linda, since are you going to be taking pictures out there and of what's going on? Maybe you could post them in the comments under this particular one, and people can come back, and because I agree with you. I think this is really cool stuff, and how it affects.
How it ties in, and we're energetically affected. So if we're all feeling a little bit exhausted right now and a little off center, there's some explanation for it. So, take a breath, don't be hard on oneself, and just kind of ride this through, keep things simple. And this particular eclipse has been known to be important because it's also in Mercury retrograde, which I know is an astrological as opposed to astronomical. Don't get those two things confused. Otherwise, oh my goodness, different types of people will take huge offense. But I think you have to embrace all types of theories, philosophies, and hypotheses. And the whole energetic aspect of just taking it easy through these maybe turbulent moments. I know we're all coming out of COVID and people are having a trickier time adjusting, and this is just adding to the pile. And understand that many new things will be disclosed coming up. That's also associated with this lunar event. It typically has a reveal component. There's also a lot of endings that can happen. So permanent endings when it comes to lunar eclipse. That seems to be a popular topic amongst the astrologists.
Right.
You won't get an astronomer agreeing to that.
Yeah.
But those are just things to keep in mind, and stay hydrated. The moon is your friend, and enjoy the event tomorrow. I hope there isn't any cloud cover.
Yes, yeah, hopefully, because I've got a decent pair, not a really big pair of binoculars, but a decent pair. So I used my dad when I was a child. He was a surveyor, and he would take his transit, and we would look at the moon through the transit, and that was pretty cool. So
very interesting.
Yeah.
So even as a kid, that was great. Your dad was tying you into nature.
Yeah. Yeah, I that's one of the fond memories was that using his technology that he was using to show me what the moon actually looked like. It was pretty cool. So where you're going to be, just to wrap up, where you're going to be, is that one of those big telescopes that they have there at that place? Okay.
I think it's called a Dobsonian telescope. This one fellow will have set up. I've looked through it before, and it's phenomenal, and he won't have it aimed at any deep space objects, but you can see galaxies with that. So I would imagine he will have it focused quite appropriately for looking at the moon.
I've got a link I'm going to put in the comments, and I'll do this after this. I'll have to go find it. But I found a really interesting link about the cosmos, and I'll put that in there just as part of this whole conversation of we're pretty small little specks here in the grand scheme of things, and it's pretty interesting to look at that, and it kind of humbles us a little bit to where we really fit or integrated into all of this.
Totally. Great to hear.
So thanks, Linda. Appreciate that. And any pictures or any comments when you come back from Sunday, your event on Sunday, that'd be cool to post them up, in the comments. And then anybody else wants to comment, that'd be totally awesome. But thank you for showing up and listening. And Linda, as always, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your research and everything specifically in this topic. For me, it's been a real eye-opener, stuff that you and I had not talked about before, and it's been very interesting. Very interesting.
Great.
Any final comments before we wrap?
Thanks as usual, Gary. Always a fun time.
All right. You guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.